2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The London to Brighton Run, now called Veteran Car Run and sponsored by Bonhams and Hiscox, is the world's longest-running motoring event, having first run in 1896 when the Red Flag Act, which required motorised vehicles to be preceded by a man or woman waving a red flag or lantern, was repealed. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. Autocar, now the world's oldest surviving car publication, played a key role in the repeal of the red flag law, having been set up in the interest of the mechanically propelled road carriage on 2 November 1895. It spent much of its early editorial energy campaigning for a change in the law, lest Britain be left behind by more progressive nations. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The first event was called the Emancipation Run and was organised by Harry Lawson, today noted as a bicycle designer, motoring pioneer and ultimately a fraudster, who was sentenced to a year's hard labour for defrauding investors in his early motoring initiatives. His one great success was founding the Daimler Motor Company in Coventry. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. In Britain, the speed limit was set at 4 miles per hour out of town, and 2 miles per hour in it, from 1878. The new laws brought in 1896 set a speed limit of 14 miles per hour. Today, as then, the event is begun with the symbolic tearing up of a red flag. This year the job was undertaken by 1996 F1 World Champion Damon Hill and actor Charlie Boorman. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. This year's event marked the 121st London to Brighton Run. It began in London's Hyde Park at sunrise and finished in Brighton, on Madeira Drive. After the first runs, held after the change in red flag laws, the event was reborn in 1927 and has run most years since, the most notable suspension coming during World War II. The 1927 event had 37 starters, this year's more than 450. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. In 1896, 33 competitors started from the Metropole Hotel at around 10:30 a.m., after a hearty breakfast, and were followed by numerous, some say thousands of cyclists. In total, 17 cars finished the event, with an American-made Duryea motor wagon reaching the finish more than an hour earlier than any other car, in around 4 hours. Now competitors start at dawn and usually finish earlier. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. This year's event was the biggest for more than 5 years, with a focus on celebrating French marques, attracting an especially large level of interest. Entrants came from 23 countries, including Argentina, Australia, New Zealand and Hong Kong. The vast variety of makes included the well-known Ford, Renault and Vauxhall, and the largely forgotten, such as Brush, Gladiator, Achilles and Bolide. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. Autocar tackled this year's event from the passenger seat of John Worth's 1900 Daimler Type A tonneau. The car registration number EX10 was originally supplied by Norfolk Daimler dealer Frank Morris of Kings Lynn in 1900. The same dealer is believed to have supplied the first Royal Daimler, also a Type A tonneau, to the then Prince of Wales, soon to be Edward VII, at Sandringham. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. Daimler was the UK's first manufacturer of motorcars for public sale. The first car was produced in January 1897 and, by 1900, cars were still few and far between. Following restoration, EX10 is today regarded as one of the finest and most original remaining British Victorian motorcars. It was used for reference purposes when the Marquess of Beaulieu restored the Royal Daimler in 19,771,978 for the Queen as part of her Silver Jubilee celebrations. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. Among the many impressive details are this monogram, which was uncovered underneath several layers of paint where the car was restored by current owner Worth. The monogram, which reads E, was believed to signify the name of one of the car's original owners. Cars were not registered until 1904 in the UK, but Worth's sleuthing suggests it relates to Ernest Estcourt, a wealthy builder. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The restoration paid painstaking attention to detail, including recreating the hand-painted linework on the wheels. You'll notice that while some of the lines are perfect, others are less so. This is because the craftsman restoring the car discovered the original paintwork beneath several layers of new paint while restoring the car, and Worth elected to leave it on display. Each line on each spoke required 3 coats of paint with 8 spokes per wheel. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The only concessions to modernity are the use of gas in place petro in the burner, which ignites the fuel, spark plugs being a later invention. This is done on safety grounds and because of the different properties of modern fuel. To start a car, Worth lights the burners, manually pumps fuel through to flood the carburetors and then hand cranks the car. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The Type A has 4 forward gears and 4 reverse and is controlled by a 3-pedal arrangement. The only dial is for fuel pressure, that being the only real concern of motoring pioneers. The 2-cylinder engine produced a heady 6 horsepower. It is notable from earlier Typers for having a steering wheel rather than a tiller. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs, with Worth at the wheel and Autocar editorial director Jim Holder joined by Hiscox guests Trish White and Jeremy Carey. The Type A departed Hyde Park at 7:30 a.m. Without the need to carry fuel, water, oil and other kit. Space would have been generous for 4, with a rear carriage arrangement mimicking that of some of the horse-drawn carts of the time. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. As a result of its start location, the London to Brighton Veteran Car Run takes in numerous landmarks early on, including Marble Arch, Big Ben under scaffolding now for 2 years, and Parliament. This year's event was marked by heavy traffic across its first half, making progress harder. However, competitors are allowed to use bus lanes in the capital, and also found some other novel ways to keep moving. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. After a reroute from the traditional course due to road works, competitors made their way to a stopover in Redhill, where a Honda dealership turns over its car park and premises for the competitors to tinker with their cars and take on a cup of coffee or tea. With the X10 running faultlessly, work was confined to a top-up of oil, fuel and water. Not everyone was so lucky. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The London to Brighton Run is notable for not just being about the competitors. It draws thousands of spectators along the route, with many taking the opportunity to show off their own treasured cars. Car clubs that gather along the route include fans of Bentley, Lotus 7s, Triumph Roadsters, Morgan, Panhard et Levasseur, and MG. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. It's not all classics that come out, however. This year there was a notable hot rod contingent heading into Brighton, including this bright yellow example. The variety of cars also gave the hardy volunteer marshals something to cheer, many of them manning the route for upwards of 12 hours despite the strongly autumnal weather. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. However, perhaps the most heroic followers of the event were those who decided to pedal the route on period bikes, including this intrepid fellow on a penny farthing type bicycle. Most set off at daybreak with the first cars and many beat numerous competitors to the finish line, albeit with the benefit of foregoing the servicing halt. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The mid-afternoon run into Brighton mixes the veteran runners in with everyday traffic, making for an impressive sight as participants make their way down to the iconic Madeira Drive finishing location, just down from the pier. Worth and team crossed the line at around 2:30, just over 7 hours after setting off on the 65-mile journey. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The only competitive element of the event is a regularity trial, with competitors nominating the average speed they will achieve over a set part of the route. Whoever gets closest to their target wins a Chopard Mille Miglia chronograph worth £4,950. This year, the winner was Robert Aubry driving a 1899 Daimler. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. John Worth's Daimler WASNT, the only Type A in the event. This even older example is notable for being steered by a tiller rather than a steering wheel. Built in 1897, W95 is powered by a 4-horsepower 2-cylinder engine. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Runs. Early transport innovations came in all shapes and sizes, and initially focused on motorizing the bicycle and tricycles that were popular in the day. They may have required less effort to get from A to B, but we pity the front-mounted passenger in the cold. 2017 London to Brighton Veteran Car Run. The finish line arrives on Brighton seafront. The 65-mile journey took just over 7 hours, including the service halt. Because the event is a run and not a race, there is no list of finishes or finishing times, but those who do make it to the end are presented with a special finisher's medal. Close.